আমি যদি একটা ওপেন করে একটু দেখাই। সো এরকম ভাবে আমরা বেসিক্যালি তার ইনফরমেশন গুলাকে কালেক্ট করে নিয়ে আসি। তার পাবলিশ পেপার গুলা বা সাইটেশন গুলা যা থাকে এভাবে কালেক্ট করা হয়। সো যখন এটা কালেক্ট করা হয়ে যায় আমরা যেটা পাই সেটা মোটামুটি আ আ একটু সেমি স্ট্রাকচারড অবস্থায় থাকে। মানে মূলত সাইটে যেভাবে ছিল ওভাবে না থেকে আমরা তো বেসিক্যালি যেটা টার্গেট ছিল আমরা এই সেকশন গুলাকে বেসিক্যালি নিয়ে আসতে চেষ্টা করছিলাম। সো বেসিক্যালি এই সেকশন গুলাকে আলাদাভাবে লেবেল হিসেবে আসে। তারপরে কিছু যদি প্রসেসিং করার দরকার হয় আমরা বেসিক্যালি প্রসেসিং স্টেপে চলে যাই এটার পরপরই। সো এরপরের স্টেপই হলো যে প্রসেস করতে থাকি আমরা ডাটাগুলাকে। সো আমরা চেষ্টা করি ডাটাগুলাকে এই সেমি স্ট্রাকচার বা আনস্ট্রাকচার যে ডাটাগুলো আমরা পাই সেগুলাকে প্রসেস করে স্ট্রাকচার ডাটাতে কনভার্ট করি। তো স্ট্রাকচার ডাটাতে বেসিক্যালি কনভার্ট করলে আমরা যেটা পাই দিনের শেষে অনেকটা এরকম একটা জেসন পাই যখন আমাদের সবকিছু স্ট্রাকচার করা হয়ে যায়। এবং লং লিস্টের একটা জেসন পাই। এই জেসনের মধ্যে মূলত আমরা আমাদের মতো যেরকম ডাটাটা আমরা এক্সপেক্ট করি সেই হিসেবে স্ট্রাকচার করে নিই। তো এই স্টেপটাতে বেসিক্যালি এই কাজটাই করা হয়। আচ্ছা। এটার পরে আমরা যেটা করি এই স্ট্রাকচার ডাটাটাকে আমরা বেসিক্যালি এক্সপোর্ট করে দিই। আ আমাদের যেখানে দরকার সেখানে নেই। সো আমাদের যেটা করতে হয়েছিল যে আমাদেরকে একটা সার্ভিস এক্সপোজ করতে হয়েছিল। তো আমরা Node.js বেসিক্যালি সার্ভিসটা রাইট ডাউন করি এবং বেসিক্যালি সার্ভিসটার ডাটাবেস ছিল Postgres। তো Postgres এ বেসিক্যালি আমরা এই যে ডাটাগুলো স্ট্রাকচার ডাটাটা নিয়েছি, এই ডাটাটা বেসিক্যালি আমরা ইম্পোর্ট করে নিই। তো যেহেতু JSON ফরম্যাটে আছে আমাদের ডাটাটা ইম্পোর্ট করে নিতে কোনো প্রবলেম হয় না। এবং আনুষঙ্গিক ইম্পোর্ট করার পরে আনুষঙ্গিক কিছু রিলেশনশিপ আমাদেরকে আসলে ড্র করতে হয়। এখানে যেমন একটা UUID দেওয়া হয়েছে। UUID আসলে আমাদের একটা ইন্টারনাল আইডি। এই আইডি দিয়ে আসলে আরো আ বাকি টেবিলগুলোর সাথে রিলেশনশিপ ড্র করা হয়। এখানে তো শুধু আর্টিকেল ডাটা আছে বাট আমাদের আরো কিছু ডাটা আছে। যেমন এই পারসনটা কি কাজ করেন বা কতদিন ধরে উনি প্র্যাকটিস করছেন, কোন হসপিটালে আছেন, অথবা যদি মাল্টিপল হসপিটালে থাকেন, কোন হসপিটালে আছেন। এই ধরনের রিলেশনশিপ গুলা এই আইডিটার সাথে ম্যাচ করানো হয়। এবং সে ওয়াইজ সে আসলে কোয়েরি করতে পারে এবং একদম আ যদি বাম সাইডটা কনসিডার করি, আমরা ডাটাটা ইম্পোর্ট করার পরে আমাদের সার্ভিসে ইম্পোর্ট করার পরে আমরা বেসিক্যালি এক্সপোজ করি। আমরা ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট রিঅ্যাক্ট কম্পোনেন্ট হিসেবে এক্সপোজ করি যে কেউ যদি চায় আমাদের রিঅ্যাক্ট কম্পোনেন্টটা তার মডিউলে ইন্টিগ্রেট করে সে কাজ করতে পারবে। সো এইভাবে বেসিক্যালি জিনিসটাকে শেষ পর্যন্ত এক্সপোজ করা হয়। আর এদিক থেকে যদি আমরা চিন্তা করি যে না আ এই ডাটা সেটটাকেই আমরা S3 বাকেটে দেই। আ সো এটা বেসিক্যালি আমরা AWS এর একটা সার্ভিস ইউজ করি Athena। Athena ইউজ করে আমরা বেসিক্যালি এই স্ট্রাকচার ডাটাকে আমরা কোয়েরি করতে পারি। আমাদের মতো যেরকম দরকার সেভাবে আমরা কোয়েরি করে ডাটাগুলোকে থেকে মেক সেন্স করে থাকি। সো যদি আমরা স্টেপ গুলা একটু দেখার চেষ্টা করি। আমি জাস্ট ডকুমেন্ট গুলা দেখাচ্ছি। অ্যাকচুয়াল সিস্টেমের স্ক্রিনশট গুলা দেখাচ্ছি। সো এভাবে বেসিক্যালি আমাদের অথর নেম ওয়াইজ আমরা ডাটাগুলাকে S3 তে আপলোড করি আমরা। তো PubFact, PubMed এরকম আমরা যে ডাটাগুলা পাই সেগুলো ডাটাকে এভাবে আপলোড করছি। ওকে। আর এরপরে করার পরে আমরা বেসিক্যালি Athena তো বেসিক্যালি SQL লাইক কোয়েরি লিখে আমরা যেকোনো ধরনের কোয়েরি করতে পারি। এখানে চাইলে ডাটা আমরা পার্টিশনও করে ফেলতে পারি। সো ফ্ল্যাট ফাইল থেকেই আমরা বেসিক্যালি ডাটাগুলা কোয়েরি করতে পারি। এটা একটা বড় বেনিফিট আমাদেরকে Athena প্রোভাইড করে। সো আমরা বেসিক্যালি এভাবেই ডাটাগুলাকে ফাইনালি ২ টা সার্ভিসের মাধ্যমে এক্সপোজ করে থাকি। একটা আমাদের নিজস্ব সার্ভিস জাস্ট ডাটা ভিজুয়ালাইজ করার জন্য। আর আরেকটা Athena জাস্ট ওপেন আমাদের যদি কোনো ইনভেস্টিগেট করার দরকার পড়ে, আমরা Athena ইউজ করে বিভিন্ন রকমের কোয়েরি গুলা করে থাকি। সো যদি আমরা হাই লেভেলের আর্কিটেকচারটা একটু দেখার চেষ্টা করি, অনেকটা আর্কিটেকচারটা এরকম হয়ে থাকে দিনের শেষে। সো বেসিক্যালি যেটা হচ্ছে আমরা অ্যাজ লাইক বিফোর আমরা আ বিভিন্ন রকমের HCP এবং HCO বলতে বেসিক্যালি হসপিটাল গুলাকে বোঝানো হয়। হেলথ কেয়ার অর্গানাইজেশন। বেসিক্যালি যে হসপিটাল গুলো আছে তাদের ডাটা গুলার কথা বলা হচ্ছে। তো HCP এবং HCO তাদের ডাটা গুলার মধ্যে যে রিলেশন মানে যে ডাটা গুলো আমরা স্ক্র্যাপ করে নিয়ে আসি, সেই ডাটা গুলাকে প্রপার ফরম্যাটে নিয়ে আসার পরে আমরা S3 বাকেটে বেসিক্যালি প্রোভাইড করি। বাকেটের থেকে আমরা পরবর্তীতে অ্যাথেনার মাধ্যমে বিভিন্ন রকমের কোয়েরি করে দেখতে পারি যে ডাটার অবস্থা কিরকম, অথবা কোন এসসিপি কিভাবে রিলেটেড, কে কতগুলা লাস্ট টাইমে হয়তো বা একটা টাইম ডিউরেশনের মধ্যে সে কতগুলা আর্টিকেল সে পাবলিশ করেছে। সো মানে তার সাথে কো অথর কে কে ছিলেন, সে কিরকম ইনফ্লুয়েন্স ফেলছে রিসার্চ কমিউনিটিতে, এরকম জিনিসগুলো আমরা এখান থেকে কোয়েরি করে বের করে নিয়ে আসতে পারি। তো আমাদের অ্যাপ্লিকেশন ডিজাইন যে সার্ভিসটার কথা বললাম, সার্ভিসের আর্কিটেকচারটা অনেকটা এরকম। সো খুব সিম্পল ভাবে বললে আমাদের ডাটা অ্যাডাপ্টার আছে কিছু। ডাটা অ্যাডাপ্টার দিয়ে আমরা বিভিন্ন সোর্স থেকে ডাটাগুলোকে ফিট করে থাকি, তার মধ্যে একটা জাস্ট স্ক্র্যাপিং এর সোর্স আপনাদেরকে দেখানো হয়েছে, এবং আশা করছি যে
আপনার লেডার যে ল্যাডার আপনার বসানোর পরে যেটুকু রং করা দরকার, যেটুকু গ্যাপ কিংবা ওইটার উপরে যদি আবার পলিশ করা লাগে, ওইটা আমার
সো যেটা বলছিলাম যে পরবর্তীতে যেটা হচ্ছে, এখানে আমরা বিভিন্ন অ্যাডাপ্টার দিয়ে বেসিক্যালি ডাটাগুলো নিচ্ছি এবং ডাটাগুলোকে আলটিমেটলি এক্সপোজ করছি অ্যাজ এ সার্ভিস হিসেবে। আমরা মোস্টলি গ্রাফকিউএল ইউজ করছি এই ডাটাগুলো কোয়েরি করার জন্য যখন লাগছে। ঠিক আছে, তো এই মোটামুটি আমার দিক থেকে সামারি ছিল ওভারঅল সিস্টেমটার। আশা করছি পুরো সেশনটা আপনারা এনজয় করেছেন। তো কারো যদি কোনো কোয়েরি থাকে ডেফিনেটলি আস্ক করতে পারেন, অথবা যদি এক্সপেকটেশন থাকে নেক্সট আমরা কোনটা নিয়ে সেশনটা নিতে পারি সেটাও মেনশন করতে পারেন। থ্যাংক ইউ এভরিওয়ান। ভাইয়া বোধহয় মিউটেড, শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
Thank you very much, Ajad bhai, for your nice session. And actually, it is a light talk session. And আমরা light talk session গুলো আসলে যেগুলো করি যে লেটেস্ট যে কাটিং এজ টেকনোলজি গুলো আমাদের এখানে আসে, তার একটা টপ লেভেল একটা ডিসকাশন হয় আর কি। তো আমরা এখন যে সেশনটার জন্য ট্রেনিং সেশনের জন্য করবো সেটা হচ্ছে পাওয়ার বিআই। তো সেই সেশনটা নিবে হচ্ছে তিমান্তা। আর ইউ দেয়ার? Hello, Timantha.
Hello, Azan. How are you doing?
I am fine.
Right.
What about you?
So, yeah, it's been a while. So I moved into Canada. So, yeah, it's 6:30. It's 6:20 a.m. in here. So, yeah.
How are your days going on in Canada?
Not bad actually. Study started. So I joined this fall semester for postgraduate here. So work happening there as well. So yeah, things going on, and yeah.
Thank you, Timantha.
No
Let's
problem.
start our session.
All right, sure. So
Can you please tell a little bit about the earlier session? It's
sure, of course.
1 or 2 minutes because we have a break of 1 month. So we may
Right. Yeah. So I'll give an introduction. Firstly, in the slide deck itself, I have some time for the previous sessions that we did. So hopefully you guys should be
Right.
okay with that. So yeah, let me share my screen. And
also your session, also your sessions videos are in YouTube. The people who are not seen the earlier presentation, they can watch in YouTube.
Right, definitely. So okay, so moving further, so today is our third session, third Power BI training session. So we had 2 sessions previously. So today's session is focusing on data visualization in Power BI reports. So let's just move further with it. For those who don't know me, I'm Timanthe Vidanagamage. I love working with Microsoft Data Platform technologies such as Microsoft Power BI, Azure Analytics Services, and Azure Data Factory. The most important thing out of all the details that you see in the screen right now is my Twitter handle at Timanthe. So please follow me on Twitter at Timanthe. If we just go through what we did in the previous two sessions and what we are planning to do in the future and what today's session is going to be about. So firstly, we had the very first session in the series of Power BI training sessions, which was uh, basically basic data modeling with data source, and we built a data model based on a very basic data source, the AdventureWorks data source. And afterwards, what we did was we moved into the second session where we advanced our data model a little bit by using Power BI data flows for data preparation, and then making sure that we develop the model based on that. So after that advancement, we are ready and set to go to the third stage or the third session, which will entirely be on data visualization in Power BI reports. So what I'll be doing is I'll be using the components. I'll be using the data model that we developed in the previous two sessions in this session as well. So guys, if you are a first timer and if it is the first time you are looking at these training sessions, please head into the very first training session and then the second training session, and after that move into this training session. If not, it might be a bit confusing for you guys. So today's session will entirely be on data visualizations, and we'll be basing the data will be based data visualizations in reports, and the entire session will be based will be directly based on the what we developed in the previous sessions. Right. So that will be session 3, and there is another session 4, another session coming up after this session. That will be basically on data visualizations in dashboards and workspace management. So what we'll be doing is in this session, what we'll basically do is so we have the data model set and ready to go. And what we'll be doing is we will be referring to that data model and creating a Power BI report with Power BI data visualizations. And we'll be publishing that to the Power BI service. So in the next session, which is session number 4, what we'll be doing is we'll be using the report that we created, and we'll be creating a dashboard out of that report that we created. And afterwards, we'll be looking into some workspace management related stuff, which are mainly related to Power BI administration, such as providing access to your other Power BI users, creating a workspace, and maybe configuring Power BI data gateways, stuff like, and configuring Power BI report refreshes, scheduling refreshes, stuff like that. So that will be entirely session 4. So this session will be on data visualizations in reports, which will be basically how you build a report in Power BI. Moving into the agenda for today. So firstly, we'll be looking at some examples of Power BI reports because I know that most of you guys are first timers here, beginners here. So you guys need some time to maybe understand what kind of solutions that you build with Power BI reports and how you can build that. So I will be facilitating that and pointing out to a very useful resource called Power BI Data Stories for that. And afterwards, I'll be showing you how to use the right data visuals for the right data in terms of data visualizations. Basically, how you use the right visuals at the right time will be what I'll be focusing on in that section. And finally, we'll be looking at Power BI report design and development, and I'll be concluding my session. So that will be the agenda for today. So let's get moving. Moving into Power BI report examples, the key resource in this is Power BI data storage. So it has tons of resources, and I think without talking about it much, let me just show you around that. So for that, what I'll be doing is I will be just heading to Google, and I would just search for Power BI data storage. And it would be the very first link that you would see, our data storage gallery. So just click on that, and you should be able to see plenty of examples that were developed in Power BI. If I just take you through, since our domain that we have been focusing on in this session is sales as well, let me just see if I can find something related to sales. I think farmer sales analysis. So all you need to do is just click on the report that you want to see, and it's a live report. So you can play around that report as well. So it says, so this is basically a sales summary, and I think there is something to move further as well. Right, yeah. So this is the report actually for that example, and you have two tabs. Yeah, that's just an example of that. So you can see that there are it's a bit advanced, and it's a slightly a bit advanced with comparison to what we have been talking about in the last two sessions. So you can see that there are measures that are used for LY sales, time intelligence measures, last year sales, year-to-date growth, stuff like that. In our report, we will not be having that kind of a complexity, so it would be easier for you to understand as well. So you can see that there are plenty of visuals here. So top 25 products by sales and quantity. This is a box visual, and then you have top 5 cities by sales. That's a bar chart again. Top 5 cities, bottom 5 cities by sales. Once again, a bar chart. So you can see that it depending on the domain. Sorry, depending on the domain, you can see that it fits in for a specific business purpose, right? For example, if you take top 5 cities by sales of the business, or the user who is looking at this, who is consuming this report, can understand what are the top 5 cities that are making sales, and say with the bottom 5 cities, and they can understand that these cities are not really performing well in terms of sales, and they can think about what they can do further in terms of how they can improve sales. And it also shows a duration, sorry, time time duration in terms of sales. I mean, like monthly sales view. So that is that. So let me see if I can find something a bit less complicated, because I see that there is a bit of I mean, it might be a bit confusing for you guys, but I think as we do certain developments, you should be able to get a hold of it. I would get myself into Power BI data source again. Right. Okay. So I think a global superstore shares will be easier for you guys to understand because right, yeah. So this is a bit less complicated. So you have the top key metrics here that are focused here are total sales, profit, and profit ratio. So it's basically a sales to profit analysis that you see right here. And on the right hand side, you can see a tabular table with sales by country, uh, showing you which countries made it's basically on the order in which basically uh, from the order in terms of sales performance that they have made. So you can see that United States is right on top, then Australia, France. So you can see the sales performance and the profit ratio in this particular tabular view. So, and you can see the same similar tabular view table with sales by category. So you can see sales that are made based on the different categories of products that are sold, right? And then you can see sales by city, which is a map visual. And then you have bar charts showing sales versus profit by subcategory, which is product subcategory. And then, as with the previous report, you have top 5 cities by sales and sales by category for selected city. So you have, it entirely depends on the client requirement in terms of how we are going about the report, right? So there is no hard and fast rule saying that these things should be there. It entirely depends on the client requirement, whether the client wants that. So you can see that in this report, you can see it's just not the data very very compelling. I mean, it's not always the bar charts and pie charts that are being used in these in reports. You can see that there is a there are tabular or tables as well, right, to represent data. So data visualization is not about using always using bar charts, pie charts, or any other complex visuals just to represent data. It's just about representing your data in a way that it's compelling enough and it's useful enough for the business users or the end users to engage in their data-driven decision-making process, right? So it's all about that. It's not about just having fancy visuals and making sure it looks good. At the end of the day, it should fit in the requirements and your report consumer or the Power BI report consumer or the business user should be able to understand what's being presented in these data visualizations. So I hope you guys got a clear understanding in terms of how what these reports look like for the advanced endpoint. So the report that we'll be developing will not be that advanced and it would be easier for you guys to do. So later on, then you can set up that base and move further in terms of advancing your skills and building a very advanced report. So you guys also can have a look at these. There are plenty of reports here. You guys can have a look at them and just get better ideas and better inspiration to develop your own reports. So that's just a heads up on data stories, Power BI data stories for you guys to use in the future. Right. So that was Power BI data stories, and I just spent a bit of time in that because it was really, I think it's really important for you guys in terms of understanding how the reports look like, what the end product or the end report looks like after the development is completed. So that is that. Afterwards, now we have got a good understanding in terms of what Power BI reports looks like, and it's time to see how we can choose the right visuals in right data visuals, right visuals in when we are engaging in data visualization. It could be in Power BI. This is not something that is tool specific, which means this is not something that is specific for Power BI. Um, this is something that's common in any Power BI, any BI reporting tool. So you can use this. You can choose the right data visual should be used either if you use Power BI, Tableau, or ClickView or anything. It is important for you to select the right data visual. So for that, what I'll be doing is I'll be getting you to a very useful resource that I have been using even when I started to develop reports. So that resource would be it's basically a PDF file, so you can access that by just Googling and choosing a good chart, and you will be if you just head down, you should see a link called chart suggestions, a thought starter. So just click on that PDF and you should be headed into this document that you see in the screen right now. Right. So you can see in this that it clearly explains what visualizations to use where. For example, everything starts from what would you like to show, right? Whether you want to show a comparison, a comparison of data, a distribution of data, a relationship between data, or composition of data. So let's say we want to visualize a comparison of data. So if you want to visualize a comparison of data, then you are headed into the branches where you want to show a comparison between among items, among certain attributes, or do you want to show a comparison over time, which is over a duration of time? So based on that, you can see the visuals that you use are different. Then again, if we say we want to go for a comparison among items, you can see it heads you into into the question whether it's two variables per item or just one variable per item. So if it's two variables per item, you can use the column chart, and if it's one variable per item, you can use you can also use column charts, bar charts, and stuff like that. So then there are some other. It's a very I wouldn't say a very complicated plot of like of choosing the right chart, but I think but it gives you the entire picture, right? In terms of how you should what kind of visuals that you can use in what kind of situations. For example, if we take a very basic example, once again, I think comparison is a bit complicated, so it might confuse you guys. So let's say that I just want to visualize a relationship between data. And if you can see, if I head into the relationship between data, it leads me to the question whether you want to show the relation. I want to show the real data, visualize the data relationship between two variables or three variables. So if it's two variables, a scatter chart or a scatter plot is recommended to show a relationship between two variables. And if it's three variables, a bubble chart is recommended. So it's like that. Basically, it's about answering the questions in terms of what you want to show in a very detailed view, in a branch structure to a very detailed view that would provide you the right visual. Then you have composition, distribution. So I would not take you through. So I don't want to overwhelm you. So I would not take you through all this. So yeah. So just take some time and just have a look at this particular document, and you should be able to. It should be really useful for you in terms of choosing the right data visual in the right situation. Right. So that is how you select the right data visual. So that's like the most useful or the most convenient resource. This is like the most convenient resource that you can use to choose a data visual. It's just that you should understand, take some time off and understand understand this document without getting it getting it overcomplicated. So it would get a bit of time, but I think you would probably, it's pretty straightforward as well. So you should be able to understand that. So that is that. And moving into the next stage, it's our report design. Right. So so before we do any development, it's always a best practice to engage in building a design for that, right? That's basically a very basic practice in any kind of development, right? You first design and then you develop. At times you might build a document, you write a document called design specification as well to cater this, and then you engage in development. But at times you might even just plot it in a paper. You might even plot your design for specific development in a paper, and you might engage in development as well. So it varies, depends on the situation. So in here, so it would be the same in report design as well. This is once again not specific to just Power BI. It's specific for report. It's specific for in, any kind of reporting tool, right? So it's important to have the report design in the first place. So for the report design, you can use simply any kind of tool, or you can even just use a piece of paper and just plot it, just draw how your design should be in a paper, and you can engage in development as well. Or else you can use tools like Microsoft Visio, Draw.io, and there are plenty more, right? So yeah, so it entirely depends on like how you take it. For example, like if you are going for, you can even document a design specification if you like. Uh, that's completely fine. So it entirely depends on your requirement. Just the important thing that you should know is that you should have a report design before you engage in development, because you don't want to go around the park when you start your development. You should have a proper plan in terms of where should be what. So and how many pages should be there and what should it cater, kind of thing. So what we'll be focusing on is plotting that design in a very basic way for a start. Right. For this purpose, I'll be using draw.io, because some things, so I reformatted my machine and something is wrong with my Microsoft Visual subscription. So I didn't have a time to look at that. So I thought of using Rodo.io. So as I told you previously, the tool that you use, even you use a piece of paper, it doesn't really matter. It's just about having the right the design to go ahead with, right? Okay. So I would quickly just log into draw.io. Let me just open a new tab. Right, so I just want to create a new diagram, blank diagram, create, and I just want to save it somewhere. So I would save it under create report design, and that is done. So I had just opened a blank document to plot my design, right? The first thing I want to do is I want to apologies. The first thing I want to do is I want to just plot a space for this the report. So this report, right? So I have decided to have 2 pages in this report. So this is page, I would call this page 1, and I would have another page called page 2. So page 1, I would just rename it to overview. I would call it overview. And this page 2, I would call it detail. Right. So the first thing I want to do is just plot some space for this visual, right? So I for this report, right? So this would be basically my report space. Sorry, let me just shorten that out. This would basically be my report page. It doesn't even have to be the right dimensions of uh, of the actual report. You just, once again, as I told you previously, it's just about having a report design. It's not about like making everything perfect and uh, uh, just having a perfect aspect in terms of going about things, right? It's just about having a structure, having a design in terms of how you should go about this. So I decided to do this, and so this will be my report. And inside my report, I just want to have a top bar. So what I'll do is I'll just plot in a rectangle, and I will plot a top bar. And that top bar, I just want to have the name as let's just say it sales overview. And maybe we can just do some editing around this alignment and font size, which does not really matter. You can edit it when you are doing the development. Right, that is done. And the next thing I want to do is I want to have a side panel. So I would create that and this side of the visual in this side of the report for my filters. So I have that set up. And the next thing I'll just align sales overview away from the side panel. So this will be the space for a logo or something. The next thing I want to do is I want to set up my filters, right? So the first filter would be the year filter. I would just call that's a big font. So let me just make that a bit smaller. So that's my year filter. and then I want to have a month filter as well. So this is month. So after month, I just want to have a filter called customer. After that, I want to have a filter called product. So I had set up my filters here and in my very basic design. And next up is the visual. So I don't want to make this over complicated. So what I'll be doing is I just want to have a line chart right at the bottom showing me how to basically showing the basically the sales breakdown over time. I would just call that name, and I would call that line chart. Right. Okay, I would just call this sales breakdown. Maybe basically it would be the sales breakdown over time there. So I think sales breakdown is a lot more cleaner. I don't. So yeah, that's that. And I just want to have two visuals, two very basic bar charts right on top. One bar chart would be sales breakdown by custom, and the other one would be sales breakdown by product, and these would be bar charts. I'm just keeping it very basic as possible. I'm not taking you through all these complications in data visualizations because I know most of you guys are beginners. So it's important to start here and then later on do some research and just keep on improving yourself. So it's important to make a strong start rather than a very complicated start where you wouldn't understand half of the things. So I had kept it very basic. Yeah, so I think almost all of you guys know what a bar chart is and how it looks like, and what a line chart it is and how it looks like. Yeah, so it's that simple in terms of how I'm going about things. So sales breakdown by customer, sales breakdown by product, and then we have sales breakdown, the line chart, which is the sales breakdown over time. So my first page, the design of my first page is completed, and this is how it would look like. And it's time to move into the second page and decide how you want to have the second page. So the detail view, I just thought of having a very simple table. To build that, what I'll do is I'll just get a copy of this. I'm sorry. I'll just get a copy of this page. And I would just paste it over here. So like, okay. Usually I do this in Visual. Unfortunately, I don't have something happened to my Visual subscription, so we have to look at that. So yeah, this would be my second page, and I would call that detail. And for the detail view, what I would be doing is I would be just plotting in a table with customer, product, and date and sales amount, right? So how I do, I would just indicate it here saying Okay, so sales detailed, I would call it sales detailed view. It customer date should be on top, right? Date customer and customer product sales. This would be a table. So you can see I had set up a very basic design for both my report pages. You have the detail view and you have the overview, and design can be done in different ways. You can even complicate this even further, right? You can have you can actually show a table here with some dummy values and build the design, or you can just build it like this. Or in here you can actually have some bar charts. You can actually have some line charts. You can plot some line chart, dummy plot line charts, and just build your design. So this is a very basic design to start up, right? So you can complicate and you can change this in any way. There are no rules and regulations in that. The only rule that you need to follow is that you need to have some kind of design before you develop a report, which is literally the same to any kind of development you do in any kind of platform, right? So that's the only thing that you guys need to keep in mind. So you can see the two report pages here, and it's all ready, and we have a design to go ahead with. All right, that would lead us to that's basically about the report design, and this would lead us to our second demo, which will be the report development based on the report design that we created. Right, a bit of homework to do before we uh, a bit of data modeling work for me to do before we engage in the development, because I had I kind of reformatted my machine, which kind of ruined by a data gateway, which I configured last week, which I showed you how to configure last week, and I had to do kind of amendments. So I have been working on that a bit, and it's almost completed. So let me just get you into the model. Just give me a few minutes here. Getting some time to get back. Let's see whether this works. There are a few errors popping up because I had to, because there was no gateway. There were some issues because I formatted the machine. There were issues in the gateway, and that made me kind of change the data source to Azure SQL database. And in that, that I had to change my source. As a result, I had to create a new data flow as a result, which popped up some errors in the data model and had to do some work around it. So that is all done, and the model is actually refreshing from my end. So let's just give it a few minutes, and then we should be good to go ahead with. Yeah, so I'm not actually an expert in report development or data visualization. So, but uh, I feel that I had engaged in a lot of data visualization and report development tasks. And what I'm sharing in this session is my learnings and how I go about things in terms of developing a report, right? So, uh, so yeah, that's how I basically go about things. And we have our model ready as well. So just 2 minutes here. Right. So I'm back to where we stopped last week after certain amendments in the backend, which were totally does not affect you guys. That was entirely uh, 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 does not affect you guys in following these sessions. So you guys can continue with where we stopped last week. No problem with that. So this data model is where we stopped last week, and we have a data flow referring to this data model. Right. Let me take you to that. Yep. Data flow referring to this data model, and this is a data model. So this is the data model that's I have opened right here. So the first thing that there are some work to do before we engage in report development. The first thing would be to hide the to hide the unwanted keys, right? Uh, so we don't want the custom key or the source custom ID that we brought in and in the last in the previous session. So we just need to hide that. So just right click on the ellipsis to see right next to custom key and just click on hide. And then source custom ID, let's hide that as well. All right. And then the product key, let's do the same for that. Let's hide that as well. Then source product ID, let's do the same there. And in this, only the measure sales amount should be visible and everything else should be hidden in the fact table. So I would do that. Right. So you have your model ready and set to go after this. So what you need to do is just publish this model. So I would do that. I would just go to home and click on publish and save changes. Yes. And I would go and publish this to it's Bangladesh. Yeah, Bangladesh Power training. So I will click on that, or you want to replace it. So that is done. Okay, so we had just published the report, so we are all good here. Uh, so I'm sorry, we had published the data model and we are all good to go here. And the next thing I want to do is there are some other few things that should be done. First thing is, I think last week we did not refresh the data model and the data flow. So that's the first thing to do. So firstly, you refresh your data flow. Just click on the refresh now icon that you see uh, that you see right next to your data flow. Just click on refresh now, and this will refresh your data flow. Right. So after the data flow refresh is completed, you should refresh your data model as well. So let's give it a bit of time. Hopefully it won't get much time. Let's see how it goes. Either way, I had done the refresh previously, just wanted to do that to show you guys. So I think we can let this happen and move further with this. So please just do the data flow refresh by the refresh now icon here. And when the data flow refresh is completed here, it would show your refresh time. I mean, when did it last refresh? And if basically if this icon, or what can I say? If this circular icon does not show up, as you can see in the screen right now, which says refresh in progress. If that does not show up, and if you see appropriate refresh time compared to the time you started the refresh, a latest refresh time, that means that your refresh is completed, right? So after that, you need to move into refreshing your data model. Same thing there, right next to the data model, click on the refresh now icon, and it should show you a refresh. So you can see that my refresh is completed, and it shows to me as 7:06 a.m. Since I'm here. So 7:06 is exactly the time my refresh was completed. You saw this refresh is completed, and there is nothing to worry about, right? So if you want to confirm that further, you can go to settings and go to the refresh history, and you can see that your refresh had completed at this particular time. Right. And afterwards, that is that. And that is basically, once again, if I show you how to check the refresh history, it's ellipsis. Click on the ellipsis right next to the data flow settings. And in the settings, you should see a link called refresh history. Click on the refresh history, and you should see your refresh history. Hope that's clear enough. So that's how you basically do the refresh, and you should do the same to the data model as well. I'll not do that just to save some time. Yeah, so that's how you go about that. And the other thing you want to do is as you publish the data model, a report is automatically created called the data model, which is not right. So you can just go and delete that. Just click on the ellipsis and click on delete, and it's all good. So this is how your workspace should look like right now. Right, now it's time for us to develop the report, and let's just check whether we have any other pending items. Not really. So that's about it. So we had done the refresh, we had hidden unwanted columns, and we had remove the unnecessary report that was created when we published the data model. So we are all good to go, and it's time for us to start the report development. So the first step in report development is to open a new Power BI desktop file. And I'm opening my Power BI desktop file in my end. So I think it might not be visible, so it's still opening. So let's let it go. Right, so the Power BI file just opened my uh in my second screen, so I would just get you to that. So this is the Power BI file, and what I want to do is I want to refer to a Power BI dataset, which is our Power BI data model, right? To create a report, I would go to get data and click on the Power BI datasets. And this should direct me to where to all the Power BI datasets that I have access for. So you can see right on top, you have the data model from Power BI Training Bangladesh. So I would click on that since that's the dataset I want to connect to and build the report with. So I would click on that. And you can see that the data model that we developed previously will be loaded right in a data model, or the data set that we did some amendments and published previously will be right in the data set. I'm sorry, right in the new Power BI desktop file, right? So now it's time for us to just create the report pages. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create the side panel and the top bar. So how you do that is go to insert, and I'm gonna go to, sorry, shapes, and in shapes I want to go to the rectangle, which is just about just plotting a shape in, and I would do this, and I guess a color like black would suit in, so I would rather put something like maybe something like this, which looks good. And the next thing I want to do is I want to create a side panel, so I would do that as well. So once again, just plotting in the side panel, and I would use some kind of a gray here. Yeah, I think this looks okay for now since this is a test demo. So maybe I'll just keep this red. I'm sorry, I'll just keep this white itself, or maybe a lighter white. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll keep this white, and that would be my side panel. You can't see this right now, but what I'll be doing next is I'll be changing the background of this page, right? That would be just under page background, and you want to use is it not working? It doesn't seem to not work. I'm not really sure why that is. I think it's in wallpaper, so let me just check that out. Right, yeah. What I basically did was I changed the background of the report page. I have the side panel, I have the top panel, and I changed the background of the report page under the format settings in the wallpaper. So to access the to change the background color, make sure that you guys don't select on any of the that was a mistake. Make sure that you guys don't select on any of the components in the report. Just make sure that you click on the boundary away from the report, and then go to format and go to wallpaper, and in the wallpaper just change it to whatever the color that you prefer. So in this case I thought of going with gray since it looks okay. So that is that. So I want to kind of replicate this for my second page as well. So I would just duplicate the same page. So I have my two pages. So the first page would be called as overview, as I told you previously. That was a mistake. It's overview, and the second page would be called as detail. And I would do is the next thing I would do is I would make sure that I send these components are set to send to back, which means that you can have the other Power BI sliders and other components on top, and there will be no problems in terms of alignment and getting through that and all that. So that send to back is, I think, a very basic feature that's even available in Microsoft Word. So you should be able to, I think you guys will be good with, I mean, you guys understand what that is all about. I think I would have done this earlier before I duplicated the pages, but I forgot that, and I did that right now. So that's completed. And next is our report content to be real. So the first thing I'll be looking at is the filters as usual: year, month, customer, and product. Right, so it would be year. Year would be the first slicer that we'll be focusing on. So how I like going about this is just dragging in year, and after that just converting it to the slicer option that you see here. So just click on that, click on the year, and click on the slicer, and you should be able to see this. Right. So there are plenty of there are different ways in which you can select uh, uh, create a filter or any other visual. So another way that you can create a filter. So that was just one way of creating a slicer, right? Another way you can do it is you can click on the slicer first. You can see the slicer on the visualizations pane in your right hand side. Click on the slicer first, and afterwards just head into whatever the attribute that you want to refer to the slicer. So in my case, it would be month. So I would just select on month name. And yeah, so I have year and month right now. And the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I align it properly inside the filter. So I don't think this looks very good. So let me see what I can do about that. Drop down would be sufficient enough in my case. Yeah. Right. Right. So I have year, month, and the rest of the filters. So in this case, you can see that I don't really have, I haven't concatenated and created a separate attribute for customer name with the customer first name and the last name. So for the moment, I'll be using the customer first name, which shouldn't matter too much since this is just a demo. It would be customer first name, and I would just make sure that it's a drop down, and I would align it properly. And the other thing would be, other one would be product. So how you do that is just go and click on the product again. Right, product and custom. So I would just rename it as product and customer so that it looks a bit more compelling. And this would be month name. All right, so I will plot the visuals right away, right? So I just want two bar charts, one for customer and other for product. So I would do that straight away, and then let's move into the second page. Since the second page would be a lot simpler, I don't think there would be any problems with that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a bar chart. So I would select on the clustered bar chart option, or you can select the stack bar chart option. Entirely depends on your preference. So in this case, I'm going with the clustered bar chart option. I would click on that, and what I would do next is just drag and drop. You can see, so how you do that, how you create visuals is click on the visual clustered bar chart option, right? And you should be able to see the clustered bar chart in your screen. And then what you do is you just drag, you need to make sure that axis and values are populated. Values will be the measure, which is the sales amount, and the axis is like how you want to analyze it with, right? So in this case, it's customer. So I would select customer. So there are a lot of complications in this. You can have a legend, you can have small multiples, which is a new feature, and you can have tooltips as per your preference. So in this case, I'm not taking you into that kind of a complexity. I'm just building this report for a beginner. So it should be a lot more easier. So as you can see, I had created a bar chart, but it doesn't look the best here. But it's, I think, okay to go ahead with. So I have a bar chart here. So let me just drag it a bit down, right? It should be actually a concatenation of the customer first name and the last name. So I haven't done it, but it's okay for now. Then you have the product name. I would do the same for that. So what I did is I just copied and pasted and made sure that I had the right axis. So since the things are the same. And so I just want to make sure that I have a proper name in place. That would be the sales breakdown. Breakdown by product. Read about that. Sales breakdown by customer, and the last visual is a line chart. So I would do that as well. The line chart is you should see that in under the visualization pane as usual. Just click on line chart, and for the line chart you need to use the date column, which is entirely a date hierarchy from year to date. So just click on date, and you should see the hierarchy right there. And the next thing you want to do is, as with the other bar charts, just drag and drop the sales amount into the values. And you should see that right here. It does not look right for some reason. Was it a relationship issue? We just let me just quickly check. Okay, so it looks like a little relationship issue. You can see that there is no relationship between date and order date. So let me just quickly create that. And I think let's create the customer concatenation from here as well. So before we do refresh, I'm sorry, before we I think I'll do it for you guys to learn also. I'll do it in the power as a calculated column. I think I didn't cover calculated columns since did I can't really remember, I guess. So calculated column is basically a way in which you can create a column after you load the data into Power BI. The only problem in that is that compared to calculated measures, it's like it's space consuming, and because it's basically another additional column that will be based on row wise, right? So I would create that quickly. And it should be new column, home, new column, and I would call that column customer. And all I need to do is concatenate, just use the concatenate, which is, I think, a basic function even that's used in almost any programming language. So in this case, it's concatenate, and it's customer first name. And I want to just leave a space. So unfortunately, with this concatenate feature, you can only concatenate 2 items, right? So which means that you need to have another concatenate inside that concatenate in order to get this working. So in my case, it would, I'm sorry, in my case, it would be space and then customer last name, and then right. So we have the column ready. For some reason, it's not showing up, but that's completely fine. Let's just do a quick publish. I think I have already run out of time, but it's almost done here, so we should be good. So I'm just doing a publish, a home publish, and just publishing it to the respective workspace. And then after I do the publish, I would be getting myself back into the report. Right, the publish is completed. So I would be going myself back into the report. And what I'll be doing is I'll be doing a quick refresh. And I am refreshing my data model right now. And you can see it's refreshing, and you can see the relationship is created, and it looks kind of good right now compared to previously. So yeah, so we have the line chart right here, and yeah, let's leave it this way for now. I don't think it would be an issue. Yeah. So we have the line chart, which should be named as sales breakdown. So just go to the format pane, click on the visual, go to the format pane, and in the format pane, navigate yourself to title, and in title, just navigate yourself to sales breakdown. Right. So we have that particular report page completed, and we are all good here. And before we move into the second page, let's we have just final one thing to do, which is to create a text box and just drop in that title of the entire page. So in this case, I would call this sales overview. Sales overview, and just I would just make sure that the background is white. And the next thing I want to do is just increase the size a bit because it looks kind of off right on. And afterwards, what I'll be doing is I would be not having a background, and it kind of looks okay for me right now. And so I had created my first page, and for the second page, what I think it does not look good at all this way. So I would just drag it into my right hand. That looks better, and that's completed. So the next thing I will do is I would not recreate the detail view that way. And I would just create a duplicate once again of this created report page as duplicate page. And I would rename that as detailed. I would quickly plot in a table. So how you plotting a table is go to the visualizations pane, and you should see an icon called table. Just click on that, and after you click on that, just drag in the respective columns, the respective attributes that you want to show up in the table. So it's date here. So when you drag and drop date for the first time, it would look something like this. But if your requirement is just to show the date in this case, just right click on the drop down icon that you see under date, and just click on date and not date hierarchy. So if you click on date, you can see that it would shift back into the date. And the next thing I want to do is I want to add customer and also product. And product, and also, and of course, sales. There you go. So we have the detail page. So let me give some more space here just to make it look look a bit better. There you go. You have the detail page right here. And that kind of concludes our report for today. And that's basically it. Maybe we can make this look a bit good with the use of the bold header option. And yeah, now it looks a bit better. But yeah, the two blacks does not tally very nicely. So changes would be needed in that. So that is basically how it looks like. And maybe I think we should jump into some advanced visualization stuff, like maybe talk a bit more about visual interactions, drill throughs, which are really necessary, which I would talk to Azan and set it up. So this was just basically how to set up your report, a very basic report for a beginner. So sales, I would call this sales detail. So you can see that we based our report design from this particular very simple design that we created. And the next thing that we did was we created this report based on that particular design. So you can see that it's all set up, and I think the next session should be on advanced visualizations and a bit more focus on custom visualizations and stuff. I realize that it might be important for you guys, so I would discuss with Azan about that, and we can keep moving further. So this is basically how you create a very basic report in Power BI. Hope you guys had a better understanding of that. And if you are following this video, or if you are following this session, make sure that you save the file, the brand new Power BI desktop file that we created under your report, under a particular under your local machine, and make sure that you publish that to the respective workspace that we have been working on, right? So it's this my workspace is this. So I just did a usual publish, and if I just open the report, you should be able to see that report in my I'm sorry, in my Power BI service. So let me just show you that in Power BI service and conclude this session. So sorry about that. So my workspace is this, and you should be able to see the sales report right here. And there you go. Your report is available in Power BI service right now after the publish, right? So let's conclude the session here, and the next session should be on advanced visualizations and advanced reporting techniques. So yeah, so there will be a bit of change in plans. So I realized that it would be too overwhelming if I take some time and cover all these advanced techniques in this session as well. That will be necessary for you to develop the report. So the next session will be updating this report, upgrading this report to an into a much more advanced solution, so that you guys would get a better understanding of this. So once again, thank you very much for Azan for having me in. I hope you guys got something good out of this session. I'm just 15 minutes. I think I'm 15 minutes past from this session, but I think you guys got something good out of this session. And please make sure to provide me with some feedback in terms of even if you need some kind of changes to these sessions, if you would like to see something more or less, please do let me know. I can make sure that I reflect my sessions according to that. And even if there are certain mistakes in me, or if something is not right in me, please do tell me so that I can correct myself and be a better contributor to this community. Once again, thank you very much for Azan for having me in this community and for having me for these training sessions. And I hope everyone, and thank you very much for everyone who attended this session. So thank you very much. So I hope you guys got something good out of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Timantha. Thank you very much. Actually, I have seen the session and realize that it's a great session, and the real fact is that it's a hands-on training session, and I hope everyone who watch the presentation and in future who will show it in YouTube, they will be helpful. It will be helpful for them also. And thank you very much, Timantha. And hopefully, last Saturday if you are free, then we may arrange another session on advanced visualization.
Sure. Okay. I think next Saturday would be fine for me. Yeah, I think we can definitely do that. I mean, it's important to make sure that everyone who attends these sessions should be upgraded in a way that they can develop a reporting solution for. I mean, they can develop a report to actual business scenario, right?
Right.
So yeah, so the key is that just to make sure that these guys are updated and make sure that these guys are actually upskilled and make sure that these guys actually get ahead of the game. So yeah, so I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you very much, Timantha. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
are very much happy and for your contribution. Your contribution is excellent, actually, and hopefully the people who started journey towards Power BI, it will be very much helpful for them. And hopefully, soon we will arrange another session talking with Timantha's availability. And also, I want to inform that today Asif will not conduct his session on blockchain due to some emergency call from his office at Singapore. So today's sessions are over, and hopefully we will inform you about the next session. And if you have any question, you can directly talk with Timantha or connect with Timantha regarding Power BI issue. And if you have any other discussion or any other query, you can also talk with us using Facebook or Twitter, or we have meetup channel, and you are always welcome to contact with us. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the session. Bye for today.
Right. Thank you, Azan. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. So let's plan the next session and make sure. Let's plan out the next session. Yeah. Right.
Thank you
Okay.
very
Thank
much.
you. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye.
Bye for today.
Bye.